Hello everyone, this is Ken Chong, presenter of Group D. This week, the question we are approaching is 5.27, which is assume you are a professional working in your chosen field. Describe specific things you can do to reduce the impact of any two problems we discussed in this chapter. So for our first problem, we have denial of service attacks. Um, DOS attacks is when attackers try to prevent the customers or users from being able to use a specific service. DOS attacks are used to shut down major websites like Yahoo, eBay, Amazon's, as well as thousands of others of websites. There are two general types of attacks. One targets the systems and services, which usually falls into three categories: the network system limitations, the OS or application memory limitations, or the disk or CPU limitations, or they fall into um, attacks on bandwidth. These attacks are typically very difficult to defend. One way to help prevent this is to only allow or restrict traffic to those that your service needs to operate. Other ways to defend against DOS attacks is to make sure your hardware is up to date. This makes it easier for your system to handle lots of requests. Large companies will usually have much more bandwidth than they need to operate, which makes it harder for attackers to muster enough force or traffic to make a difference within the system. Or you could have a tool to monitor your data, and if there's a problem to be found, that tool can filter it out. Our second problem is phishing. Phishing is basically fake or spam emails pretending to be something legitimate. They are very clever and try to convince you they're from reputable institutions when they're actually just trying to scam you out of your money or steal information. Um, Phishing messages usually would tell the victims to click on a link and then make them type in their personal information. There are three main types of phishing: whaling, clone phishing, and spear phishing. Whaling is when a web page or email pretends to be legitimate, and they usually target upper management or someone who can divulge company information. And they normally contain information that would require urgent reply, sort of like baiting them in. Um, Clone phishing uses legitimate emails, but they send you a link to go to a malicious website that would take your information. So, for example, you could receive an email from, say, accounts.wellsfargo@gmail.com, and they could give you a link making you think that you're going to Wells Fargo, where you're going to some other website that's not Wells Fargo. Spear phishing are usually targets chosen groups of people from the same company or organization, and it's made to look like it's from someone within the receiver's organization who holds authority. So, like, say, the CEO or something of that sort. So, how do we prevent phishing? One way is to implement a two-factor authentication, which basically adds a second layer of security where if someone gets access to your information, they can't access it without entering a code that's, let's say, sent to your phone as a text message or something like that. We could use HTTPS instead of HTTP. The difference is that HTTPS is encrypted while HTTP isn't, and this makes it much harder to steal information. Um, we could simply avoid clicking the link directly and checking the sender's account. And of course, we could always educate ourselves or other end users to make sure that they are aware of these attacks and are aware to not fall for these tricks. Um, the punishments for people who use these methods are quite severe. People can be sent to prison for ushering these types of attacks. And the USA Patriot Act explains that when caught, you are liable to pay for the costs of response, assessment, and restoration of the damages towards the system. We see first offenders receive up to 10 years, which increases if the system belongs to military or police systems. Um, right, and this is our resource page. And that is all. Thank you.